Okay, so it's my pleasure to introduce the first speaker this afternoon, Duncan McCoy, and he'll be telling us about characterizing slopes for alternating knots. Thank you very much for the invitation. Microphone is working, great. The fact that this is recorded, you don't have to take out this very funny YouTube. So, well, first, I guess I'll tell you what a characterizing slope is. But before that, perhaps we'll just do a quick reminder on what we mean by surgery. So here, I mean pain surgery, which means pain surgery. Well, I'm going to use SPQ on Q. Okay, which is a manifold you get by taking a knot in S3, cutting out a tubular neighborhood, and then going back in another solid torus. And how you glue back in the solid torus is essentially determined by this quantity B on Q here. And so B on Q is encoded in the fact that we're going to glue this in so that after you do the filling, the homology class of E times a meridian plus Q times a null homologous longitude and the disk. Well, we're not really going to have to understand exactly sort of what this means, but we're going to talk a lot about sort of non-integer slopes, and so sort of helpful to have this set up in advance. And so, well, pain surgery is sort of a source of a lot of interesting questions in low-dimensional topology. And the broad sort of question that I'm interested in today is, well, what does the topology surgeon manifold you get by surgery, will tell you about the knot K. So, given some manifold, and you tell me that it was obtained by surgery on a knot, can we say which knots, or, can we say anything about the knot at all? And so, relevant to this question, well, we're interested in slopes where sort of this manifold here tells you everything about the knot you started with. So you say that with P on Q, rational number, is characterizing for K. And as the talk goes on, I will write a few letters of the word characterizing. Well, eventually I won't write it at all. K is characterizing if, well, even worse, if the oriented homeomorphism type of P on Q surgery on K distinguishes K uniquely among all knots. So what that means is, well, if a homeomorphism orientation preserving homeomorphism between P on Q surgery on K and P on Q surgery on another knot K prime can happen only if K and K prime are the same knots to start with. So even before this, even before people started looking at characterizing slopes, people have long been asking questions of this type. So it was a long-standing conjecture of Cameron and Gordon that every slope was characterizing for the unknot, and this was resolved by Kronheimer, Rocker, Oswald, and Sauber. And I hope the subset of the orders present will get ended if I don't much out the names in full. The offence is already taken, so it's too late. I might as well. So every slope characterizing to the unknown. After that, using Topology, Oswald and Zabo said the same thing for figure 8 knot. Well, at some point, you and Zhang will show that porous knots in general, what's the characterizing equation? Well, I mean, I should mention that if I were to list every example of every characterizing scope, it would be little data. So I'm just sort of, there are lots of interesting results that I'm sort of omitting here, but I'm sort of just going into the results where, sort of people said a lot of things that I have a lot of knots. But in this paper here, they sort of gave birth to the characterizing slope terminology, and they asked a question. So I'm calling this a conjecture. Really, they didn't ask a question, but we'll pretend it was a conjecture to make the talk more interesting. So never let the truth get in the way of the good story. So what did they ask? Well, for any hyperbolic knot, almost all slopes are characterizing. And at this point, and in sort of future uses, I will take almost all the new, with only finite many exceptions. There be some writing. And so why might you ask this question or make this conjecture? Well, the heuristic comes from first and hyperbolic capability theorem, which says that if A is hyperbolic, which means that the complement emits a finite volume complete hyperbolic structure, then P and Q's be sufficiently large. And when you do P and Q surgery, the resulting manifold is also hyperbolic. And 4 of the solid torus is moved in the resulting hyperbolic structure is isotropic to the shortest closed geodesic. 4 of the so you take a prime same, well, some other hyperbolic knot. same is true. And Moscow rigidity tells you that given two hyperbolic manifolds which are homeomorphic, basically all the geometric information is going to be preserved by, well, your homeomorphisms. Topic to a nice isotopy from a topic to a isometry. And so you would expect that the shortest closed geodesic here, yes, carried to the shortest closed geodesic in the manifold you've got filling here, and that should tell you that the two knot complements are the same, so they're not the same. That's the heuristic. However, there are two problems with this heuristic. First, it's going to be the abstract objection that, well, sufficiently large here depends very much on the decay. So you have sufficiently large decay, but we also have some other mystery not decay blank. It could be anything else, and you need sufficiently large for works of that as well. So the abstract problem is that, well, this might not be the same. And probably watching this for wondering, well, sometimes we got the theorems, you probably wondering what's the sky going on about, because the other problem is that the is just not true. So there are counterexamples. Specifically around in Baker and Microbiology, and there exist knots, including hyperbolic knots. In fact, they manage to construct a lot of knots, which every integer slope not calculated. Well, at least that's the first the first version is constructed is not actually either way. What's the question that we just spelling? Okay. I wasn't, you can tell what that was a hand part up or hand up or something. Sure. Yeah, I'm slowly working my way across the word next. At least the basic, the primitive version of the construction that I understand is something like this. What you do is you start with a link with, say, two components. One of these components to be the other component can be doing anything you like, but we want this to be such that when you do zero surgery on both components simultaneously, you get something which is that's 3. So I've drawn this where the leading number is 3. Well, there are sort of 3 strands of passing through here, but anyway, already you can have any number for logical reasons. The linking number between these two components will always be 1, but so this will always be good. And then, well, given this setup, if this is S3, then I can draw a curve here. Equal K, this curve here is a not in S3, it'd be much more complicated than it is here. But if I do M surgery on K, do a little bit of surgery calculus. We perform a sign going maneuver. The J, that changes your 0 to say -1 on n. So a 0, and now you can do another Gaussian twist on this thing. And that changes framing from this thing to n, full twist. And the point is that, well, if we call this diagonal here, an, J surgery, N surgery on J here is going to be morphic to N surgery on this not AN. And so unless you chose this in some really boring way, narrowly these knots are all going to be different and you'll get some function characterizing space. But sort of these awkward counter examples size is going to go for this. It's going to go for this conjecture.
So we'll talk about the heuristics here.
So the heuristic here is that if this family of knots here, the meaning is sufficiently large, sort of drifts off to infinity. You just basically need D, I guess, and D in this case, you need D to be the band at which the core of the building becomes shortest geodesic, gets further and further out. Somehow sort of see that this thing here is going to contain a short geodesic because you're doing 1/n surface in this here, and so you do the filling core of this thing here is going to get shorter and shorter, and so you're going to have some short geodesic coming from this, which is not the core of this. That's I think I'm yeah. Okay. Okay. So
Is part of it is an issue with the heuristic that there's not always a first question that's like meaning that for that argument.
That's not going to be a problem because this data being a bit bigger, you will get a unique one that's going to be that's the problem. The problem is that it's not a game where you gain some short geodesic somewhere. And so then when you have this homeomorphism, that's going to get out for here. So and using also next to yeah. Yeah, so that's a good question. So it's sort of a overall theorem that two needs to not really find any researchers in common. I think it's sort of conjecturally anyone knows that there are not to be more than one survey to exclude this. I think it's pretty nice.
One example. Examples.
So that's nice. That's sort of where we're heading. So this conjecture is the conjecture could form like that is what I would like to get into. So at some point, I can be the so that well, every knot has some characterizing traits. Many. They less than one and use sufficiently large. That would be a characterizing trait. Yeah, sufficiently large because depend on not my universe it works. And we also showed that it is hyperbolic. Hyperbolic exterior, then you can sort of get rid of this condition here, and well, Q is characterizing okay, Q is sufficiently large. Where this goes is there is actually a way to make this heuristic work in some cases. So the proof is basically a sort of a it's this, but with a lot more sort of technical pieces. But to me, what these results are telling us is well, this is that here it becomes harder and harder for you to become a characterizing non-characterizing state that Q is large. So I would like to modify this conjecture by bringing it to non-integer space. Because we don't have any hand examples. Examples, and well, so like in knot theory, you know, well, hyperbolic knots lead, the rest follow. So let's get rid of the hyperbolic hypothesis. It's a conjecture that I want to think about and one that I think might actually be true. Well, the velocity you know about the change is conjecture. Well, it's true for torus knots. Yeah, for when you consider that it's true for not like 2. And in this is a good opportunity to also publicize some work of Richard Sawyer, who's a student up at UNAM. He's managed to she's managed to take what Mark Lackey did here and remove the hypothesis that is hyperbolic. So she's showing that running on K. Q is characterizing sufficiently large. And in fact, In the case of composite knots, you're able to do something much stronger. K is a composite knot, so it admits a non-trivial prime decomposition. Well, then just showing that every non-integral slope is characterizing. The difficulty, yeah, it's lacking the style as well. It's basically it boils down to, well, I mean, it's just, I say just beautiful quality. It basically uses you look at the JSK decomposition or complements, work really hard, where with all the sort of winning results practices, really accepting building exactly the end.
Other than that, are not characterized.
Yeah, so then there's some examples where every user is taken from I mean, this is my baby. Managed to do quite a long one. So actually, further part of Patricia, this means that those knots now, for those knots we sort of fully understand the set of where those examples after these ones here, where we understand exactly. Unfortunately, we don't. The argument pass through the non-constructive steps. We know that there is some lag, but typically we can't say what it is. The minus two is that right on any kind of basis. You want to go to the hyperbolic geometry, you can get a concrete back to the minus two set present on figure 5-2. But those three guys can't do the best my best like so there is something else. So there is a normal sense that there's not high sense of being become certain quality. It's probably likely, but it's likely, but after a long day, then for the open deck, I want to go back. Is, for example, if you now whatever name, what's the sort of the main thing that remains to be done? This conjecture, well, people have good understanding when Q is what's going on when Q is large. What we need to do is we need to be able to have some way of finding characterizing slope when Q is large. So to verify the conjecture of what we need to do, well, we need to find well, I propose P on Q is some non-characterizing slope. Okay. So say there exists some K prime, which is not K, such that they have the same surgery. What we want is fixed K, or a fixed Q, upper bound P is independent of the choice if they're not K prime, I would depend only on K. So the results I want to talk about today say that, well, you can sometimes do this. What I mean by sometimes do this, well, you can do it if Q is at least 3. So for any not K, K has almost all slopes. So again, I'm using almost all to mean with only finitely exceptions. With Q at least 3 characterizing. And moreover, if, well, to say if the not the chain complex K is not too complicated, but I will explain what I mean by not too complicated in a bit. Same is true for equals 2 as well. So the punchline is that this conjecture is true or not, is CFK is not, it's not, the homology is not too complicated. And what sort of knots does not too complicated include? Well, it includes L-space knots. It includes alternating knots, or more generally, as you might perhaps guess, those within knot homology. It includes most of the small knots, and so as of my plane flight yesterday, this includes all but four knots with at most 10 crossings. How to improve well this type? Well, we want this upper bound on P. perhaps the first observation. Is that we can assume so I'm only interested in non-integer slopes, but assume Q is at least Q, and by Richard Sawyer's work, we might as well assume that we're only thinking about prime knots, at least for one of the steps. Simplify things so we can assume that K and K prime are fine. Well, turns out you sort of want to split the argument here into two cases. So ideally, you would want to try and find a way of making the hyperbolic geometry heuristic I explained earlier work in Gables. Unfortunately, you can't do that all the time. And so the idea of the group is that, well, if the knot K prime has small genus, then we still make the hyperbolic geometry heuristic work. Right. Generally, if you sort of use some three-manifold topology and start looking at the JSJ decompositions of everything in sight, you can arrive at the following theorem. So if the genus of this other non-K prime is expanded, then I need to get my quantifiers in the right order. You show that there exists a constant C, which becomes only on not K, such that if our sort of hypothetical counterexample, hypothetical not given as a non-characterizing slope of kind of genus, then so here is at most this constant here. So this argument is really geometry and topology. And the reason why it works in this case, if you have the genus expanded, is because if you look at the not K prime, you can look at sort of this surface, the Seifert surface that you have here, and that gives you sort of an essential surface where, just for simplicity, suppose that K prime is hyperbolic, you have this surface sat inside there, and in Gables shows you how, given such a surface, you can get sort of bounds on the lengths of the curves in the sort of task. And then you can leverage these bounds to show that, well, these two knots had the same surgery, but beyond Q large, then actually the knots had to be the same in the first place. However, if you can't control the size of, you can't guarantee that the knot complement here has a small surface in it, and you have no control until you have to find something else. But fortunately, you have a whole bunch of tools which are very good at understanding sort of genera and things like that. So, after getting not homology involved, so we both not homology to deal with the other case, so this is this. Okay. As genus is marginally K. Unfortunately, this is a step that doesn't always work. And usually 3 or 2. Complicated. Then you get another band and something like the following will do. Probable to be able to see how these two theorems here sort of combine to give you power over there. Now I can tell you what I mean by not too complicated. So the reason why I keep putting this off, because the definition of not too complicated is actually quite complicated. So let me remind you what's the structure of the k infinity. Well, this is your, well, it might not be your favorite, but it is my favorite. Ratings. So we have a bunch of groups arranged in a grid, and we have this complicated you actually use everything. With everything one space down and to the left, there is gradients by 2. So it makes everything inside into it. Well, I'm going to work over some field. New module. So what I want to look at, well, I want to look at equation complexes. Taken by so complexes. So this is S. Complex you get by using equation 0. Quality of that. Yes. So what we've seen before, this is basically calculating a class of large surgeries on K. This here is a vacuum module. And it inherits from Maslow gradient here at an absolute gradient. What do I mean by not too complicated? Well, I want a property that the whole S, if you have a composition for AS, I can pick that some module plus F. Like this. So here putting these in absolute grading D1 and D2, this is the condition as net U module. And well, here, this by F, I'm noting the NU module. Multiplication like you, I want the box to go in every other decomposition like this, then either B1, B2, or they're not congruent on 2. So in other words, the summands like this can only be supported in at most 2 gradients. One is even, one is odd.
Is it arbitrary or is it power?
M is arbitrary. This is different. Yeah, so you might so for example, if you just take your X alternating knot, you can calculate X plus, you're going to get some power, you're going to get, maybe you get, some, potentially some, well, you only get one of these and then you have some other little sticker or something, but this is just, basically I'm still trying to find a good way of writing this condition.
That's a first.
Yes, that's important, yeah. That's why yeah, so and could theoretically contain other copies of F, but they would have to be in, if D1 is not equal to D2, they would also have to be contained in this level here.
So any kind of
Yeah. That would also have to be composition. Alternatively,
just say the kernel of U.
no. So the thing is, very much, for example, you could happily have some ends of the form E squared. These don't enter into these don't, you can have as many ideas as you like in as many grades as you like in the X. This is a really annoying condition. I'm sorry. But unfortunately, it's the one that works. Perhaps, oh,
I don't know, it's better, I think much more.
yes, well, yeah, I mean, if it wasn't this restrictive, you wouldn't be able to apply it to multiple homology, for example. Of a base all over the place. So, for example, well, L space knots automatically satisfy this condition. Yeah, basically, the other thing is that in order to get the full conjecture, you need both K and this mirror to satisfy this condition. Because in this theorem, here we have an absolute value, here we don't really get a apparent in direction. So, for example,
so like saying that if something is in the kernel of U, but it's not in the image of U, then you have to do things like that, and they should be in the same degree for the comparative grading.
yeah, so for example, maybe it's best to get by example, so if you take the power, so you have F supported in degree 1, F supported in degree 2, F supported in degree 3. This is too complicated. Whereas, for example, in 1 power plus F1, say plus F2 squared is always not too complicated no matter what grading this is in. Or, for example, I can put, you can have 1,726 copies of this, it's still too complicated. But if we take 1,726 copies of this, it's still fine. Yeah. So I think 1,000.
Oh, that makes.
Yeah, sorry. So what you're trying to do here is right. More. Okay. So the remaining 5 minutes. Oh, what point I get dragged off?
Might be great.
Right. So let me just explain sort of why are these modules you want to sort of the summaries you want to care about? Well, the entire group of this is we basically want to deconstruct the mapping cone formula. We want to work backwards. And where it works is if you look at your nonce A prime, and look at the B minus 1 sort of module here. Well, yeah, you're going to get a copy of the power reported in some grading. And then you're going to get a copy of HFK of the prime for an impedance G up to some shift, with where this is annihilated. This has the trivial module structure. So what you do is you go and look at the mapping cone formula. First step, where it's found here, where it comes from. Well, the first step is that we have two surgeries giving you the same manifold. And so this gives you potentially two different neighborings on the spin C structures. This found here comes from playing which we're gauging the D invariance to ensure that these two labelings have to be the same. Then once you know that these two labelings are the same after conjugation, you can start comparing, well, what is the mapping cone formula will express HF plus the manifold you're doing surgery, you're obtaining that surgery in terms of these groups with A, these groups with A prime. And then the point is that, well, each of these groups will show up. So each of these terms like this will show up in the mapping cone formula 2 times, and you want to look at the absolute gradients on these and compare the occurrences. So the point is that if A prime has large genus, then this term here is going to show up 2 times, but it's going to show up 2 times. And it's going to show up with these a long way out, as it were, in the mapping cone formula. So when you compare the different spin C structures where this turns up, you're going to get different absolute gradients showing up. You compare the two, and you find that these two appearances, the gradients are going to be shifted by an even integer. So this condition here basically guarantees that you never see such terms showing up in the surgery on K. So you certainly can't have them coming from surgery on K. That's the 5-minute explanation why this is a natural thing to think about and not totally insane. I hope I convince you for the first part. Anything else? Silence is the end. Thank you.